This is the video I wish somebody made for me when I was 20. Now, when I was researching for this video, I found that when it comes to college admissions in India, the enrollment rate is just 9%. And if you look at the acceptance rate of top colleges in India, it's around 2%, which is lesser than even Harvard University. And then when it comes to jobs, it gets even harder because the unemployability rate is around 50%. Now, when you hear these statistics, it feels like if you don't stick to the rat race, that success is always going to be out of reach. And if you're not in the top 1 to 2% of the people in the country, life is going to suck and that you're a failure. Honestly, till 10 years ago, this is exactly what I thought. But then I started working. And I worked so many different jobs, started and failed a business, actually two, and finally started this YouTube channel. And in doing all of this for 10 years, I realized that success is not a one-size-fits-all thing. Success means different things to different people. For me, success equals having financial freedom, living with purpose, and doing work that impacts people or the world in some way. And I think most people will agree with the financial freedom aspect of success. We all want to be rich, wealthy, well off. And I am not going to tell you that if you just follow your passion or chase your curiosity, you are going to achieve success. Because that honestly is a load of bullshit. Success takes hard work, it takes commitment, and it takes a lot of continuous effort in the right direction. And this video is all about how you can keep going in the right direction. So hit that subscribe button, hit like because that helps it reach more people, and let's get started. Educate and upskill continuously. Yes, getting into colleges is getting harder. Yes, traditional job roles are getting harder, but we live in the age of technology and we live in the age of internet, which means that if you are really willing to do the work, you can find anything that you want to learn online. And even if you get into a good college and get good grades and you find a good job, you will still need to upskill regularly if you want to stay relevant, if you want to stay ahead of the competition. Upskilling is the only true way to stay relevant in your field of work. Everything that I do today, the success that I enjoy is a result of learning new skills continuously. And all of the skills that I've learned that help me in my current career, I didn't learn any of them in school or college. I learned actually all of them on YouTube. From Photoshop to writing blogs to editing videos to managing my money, every single thing I have learned for free from YouTube. So basically, you don't have an excuse to not learn and not upskill. And yes, it can get overwhelming. So I suggest you start with something that's interesting to you. I started with Photoshop because I absolutely love drawing and designing and, photo editing. And that was the first real software that I knew that could do this. Back then, there was no YouTube as well. So I used to go read blog posts about Photoshop and then learn how to edit photos and, create designs using that. If that is possible, today it is possible to learn anything, which means you have no excuse. Choose what game you want to play. Now, Naval Ravikant says this best because he says that you should only play games that you want to win. And I think this is where a lot of people get confused because society makes us think that there is only one way to win at this game of life, which is school, college, job. So most people choose to play that game of trying to get good grades in school, trying to get into a good college, and then trying to get a good job. And yes, that is one of the games that you can play, but that is not the only game that you can play. So I have done the school, college, job thing, and I was feeling very unfulfilled after doing that. So a few years ago, I sat down and I asked myself what I really wanted out of life. And I realized that what I was prioritizing back then was not in alignment with what I actually wanted. I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to use my creativity in my work. And I wanted to do something that actually impacts people. All of the things that were nowhere to be found in my previous jobs. I was not playing the game that I wanted to win. And once I started on that trajectory, I figured out that it was figureoutable. Everything is figureoutable. When you're 18 or when you're 20, it can feel like every single decision that you make is the most important decision of your life. And that if you don't make the correct choice right now, your life is going to be effed up. But guess what? That is the farthest thing from the truth. Actually, this is the one thing that I have been the most wrong about in my life. First of all, there is no such thing as a correct choice because as you change, as you grow, you tend to make different choices. A lot of the times, those choices tend to contradict with the choices that you're making today. Plus, your priorities change as you grow, which means you need to figure out different solutions to the problems that you have in your life. And the only thing that I have found to be true in all of my 30 years of experience is that if you take a deep breath, you don't panic, and you look at it from a solution-focused mindset, everything is figure outable. I took commerce in high school, but then I was confused about what to do in college. Then I found psychology. And then after doing psychology for 3 years, I was confused about what to do for my master's. Then I found journalism. And then I did that and I worked as a journalist for a couple of years. And then I realized, my God, this is not what I want to do. And then I figured out the next steps. As long as you keep at it, you are going to figure it out. Which gets me to my next point: earn first, dream later. You know what makes figuring out anything easier? Money. It's money. Financial backing and financial support can give you the kind of freedom of choice that no other thing in the world can. So yes, the rest of your choices, your passion, everything else matters, but it all becomes moot if you don't have the money to support yourself. If you come from a financially well-off family or a background, great, that's lovely. But if you come from a middle-class Indian household or a lower middle-class Indian household, the first step in your journey to success that you need to figure out is how to get started with making money. And trust me, your primary job or your primary career choice is not the only way to do that. In the age of the internet, there are so many avenues that you can use to make money while you're sitting at home just by using the internet. If you're not using that to your advantage, you are missing out big time. Freelancing is such a great option because it helps you to upskill and earn money at the same time. I have worked 2 to 3 freelancing gigs with every single job I have held in the past, and that is the reason that I'm able to do what I'm doing today. So get out of your head. Remember that your 20s are not the rest of your life. You do not need to fixate on doing this one thing and one thing only. And go ahead and give yourself permission to find the opportunities that will help you make money. For me, that skill, that opportunity was writing, and it has led to a snowball effect of turning it into everything that I do today. Financial security can open doors for you like nothing else in the world. It can give you confidence, it can give you freedom of choice, and it can basically fast track your success. And remember that no skill that you learn ever goes to waste. Make rapid experimentation your best friend, which basically means trying a lot of different things to actually figure out what you want to do and what you don't want to do. This works by the process of elimination, and it is one of my favorite things to figure out things in my life, because a lot of the times there are so many choices that we are constantly bombarded with that it gets difficult to figure out what it is that we really want to do. And when you do rapid experimentation, you work by the process of elimination, which means you try something, you realize that you don't like it, and then you know that this is not what you want to do. This is what happened when I got into journalism and I realized I didn't like it. This is what happened when I tried pursuing art as a career and I realized that I don't want to do that as a career. This is what happened with working with an agency, and this is what actually led me to this part of my life where I now realize that making YouTube videos, creating content that is helpful for people is what I actually want to do. Rapid experimentation teaches you so much. You learn how to navigate multiple situations. You learn how to say no to the things that you don't want to do. You learn how to think on your feet. And you build transferable skills, which means that the skills you learn as a result of rapid experimentation can be transferred to multiple different career avenues for you. And that is always a great thing. And if you feel like you're afraid of experimenting, just ask yourself, what is the worst that can happen? If it's not going to kill you, if it's not going to bankrupt you, destroy your health or your relationships, it's worth taking a shot on. In most cases, you only stand to gain in the process. Like I told you, rapid experimentation is the reason I am where I am today, and I still continue to do it, to experiment with things. A small example is this video, which is very different from what I usually post on the channel. Will it succeed or fail? I don't know, but I do know that it is going to give me feedback, which is my next point, that is treating failure as feedback. Sadly, most of us in the Indian context grow up believing that failure is the worst thing that can happen to us, that it is the end of life and end of the world as we know it. But that is so far from the truth. Failure is honestly the first step to success, as cheesy as that sounds. And I practically realized this when I started working with tech startups. Every time some aspect of their product fails, it gives them data points or reference points to figure out what actually went wrong. And so the team gets together to fix the issue and correct the failure, and they do this over and over again till their product becomes a success. If they didn't do it, if they gave up at the first sign of failure, their company wouldn't exist. That is exactly what failures are in real life as well. They are data points on our path to success. They tell us what is not working in the current point of time, how we can tweak this little thing to continue on our trajectory, on our journey towards our goal. And once we start to take these data points as feedback for what we are doing wrong, it actually becomes very, very easy to keep going, continuing on the path that we are on. But not all failure is necessary. Learn to assess risks. Now, I know that I've probably been on this motivational monologue for the last 15 minutes or so, but for this next one, I want you to think critically. Risk assessment and risk management is actually one of the biggest skills you need for success. It's actually a whole different career field as well when it comes to like finance markets and all of that. But in your individual case, knowing when to take a risk and knowing when to avoid it can be all the difference that it needs to be. And a great way for you to become better at assessing risks is just ask yourself the question, how sorry is too sorry for me to handle? What this means is look at the worst case scenario of taking that risk and then ask yourself, can I handle that worst case scenario or not? For instance, when I wanted to quit my job and wanted to start that business that failed, I asked myself, what is the worst case scenario? That the business will fail, that my content won't take up. And can I handle that? Yes, because I can always pick up another job. It might take a little bit of time, but I can still pick up another job and come back to the job market. And that is why that risk for me was worth taking. Similarly, when I was moving out of my house, I asked myself, what's the worst case scenario? That I wouldn't be able to make rent or, go broke or whatever. And in that case, did I have the option of moving back home? Yes, I did. And that is why taking that risk for me was worth it. Now, for example, if you're somebody who is the sole breadwinner for their family, then probably quitting your job to start a risky business might not be the best move on your part right now. And in that case, you need to figure out another way for you to be able to go after your dreams without putting yourself in a very risky situation. Practice hard work. Growing up, we were told that the ideal life scenario is to get a government job because you only need to work hard up to the period of getting the job and then life is all comfortable and cozy and cushy and then you don't need to do a lot of work after that. I understand now that that is not how government jobs work, and also that a lot of us actually grow up with this mindset that we should only have to work hard for the initial bit and then have a smooth life and then eventually retire and have an even smoother life. But my dear lovely humans, in today's day and age, we live in a continuously evolving world, which means that if you are not continuously working hard at yourself, at your skills, at your work, you are very easily going to get irrelevant. And the one thing that our education system does well is actually teach people to be hard workers. Even though the methods it uses are fairly controversial and rote learning is probably not the best way to do it, it still teaches us to be hard workers. The only thing we need to do as adults is to continue that practice. Hard work is like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the more in shape it stays. If you stop exercising it, you actually become lazier and lazier and lazier till you no longer know how to work hard. Master your work ethic. This can actually get you farther in your career than your actual work can because you work with people. You don't work in isolation, and your work ethic determines all of your interaction with everybody that you work with. So a few skills that everybody needs to master regardless of the career or the profession they are in are: one, taking initiative. Your willingness and your eagerness to work on something in your own field can actually open huge doors for you. Taking responsibility. This is perhaps the skill with the biggest transference. Treating work that you're given as your own, treating it like your own baby and doing it with full shiddat actually says a lot about you and your character, and that means that people will want to work with you more and more as time goes. Learning how to get things done, aka being a solution-focused person. 90% of the people that I have ever worked with are not solution-focused, which means when a problem arises, most of the people will whine about it, will complain about it. Nobody will actually try and look at it from a critical, constructive lens, trying to figure out how to solve that problem. And that, being in that 10% of people who actually do, changes the game for you completely. So don't be the person who is just constantly coming up with excuses. Don't be the person who is slacking off because, well, nobody else is doing the work. Be the person who takes it to the finish line. Figure out how to complete what you started or whatever you're a part of, and that is a skill that will serve you for life. And finally, learn how to present yourself. Not just in how you look, but how you conduct yourself and how you pitch yourself and your services to the world, to your employer, to your potential employers, to your colleagues. How do they see you as a person? All depends on how you present yourself. And the final 5, have better company, because you are the sum total of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. I'm sure you have heard this time and again, but make sure that you go out of your comfort zone, take part in online communities, events, games, etc. that put you in the company of people who are where you want to be. Don't just settle with what you're given. Learn the art of self-soothing. There are going to be so many times in life when you will need to just rely on yourself for comfort. You will need to soothe yourself in times of crisis. And if you don't know how to do that, you will just have a full-on meltdown whenever you're in the middle of a crisis. And that is not what you want to do. Figure out what works for you when it comes to soothing yourself in terms of managing your emotions, and practice that regularly. Stop comparing yourself to other successful people, because like we discussed, success is not the same for everyone. It means different things to different people. And don't ever give up on working on your natural talent, even if you don't want to make a career out of it. Doing things for yourself keeps you sane, keeps you grounded, makes you love life a little bit more, and it helps you build skills that actually transfer to other areas of your life. And number 5, don't forget to check out this video next if you really want to level up in life. Subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.